Right now, 48% of Australia's workforce are female, yet only 13% of the engineering profession are female. And to top that off, engineering is the largest employer of all STEM professions, yet we have the worst female participation. This has to change. I'm Justine Romanis, National Manager for Professional Diversity and STEM at Engineers Australia, and I'm sitting down with some inspirational women to discuss the findings of our Women in Engineering Research Report. Today I'm joined by Courtney Freebody, Leader of Learning Technology at Mater Dei Catholic College in Wagga Wagga. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you for having me.
So I guess I'd like to start, Courtney, we've talked about this research we've put together with regards to the barriers and the key interaction points for young women to enter STEM or indeed engineering study compared to young men and also women who study other areas of comparable university degrees. And I guess I'd like to start with you today by talking about your experience. You're very heavily involved in STEM teaching and have been for a number of years. And I'd like to understand what you're doing and what you see some of those barriers being to start off with.
I've been educating students for around 19 years now and working in various schools across New South Wales. I currently work in Wagga Wagga, so regional area. And as part of my role at the school, I have led an initiative, sort of like a workshop group initially, of students to do some STEM sort of engineering challenges. So we have a team of 6 teachers that work together to coordinate 140 students in Year 8, and we do makerspace challenges, emergency housing, engineering, you name it, we do it. As part of that, it's really sort of developed my thinking around STEM, being a maths teacher myself, seeing girls in Year 10 and realising that some of them need that further encouragement to really develop their ideas, their critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, and may not necessarily have the thinking behind their choices in Year 10 and leading them into Years 11 and 12.
So you've hit on a really critical point there, Courtney, because the research shows that we really need to influence these young women earlier than Years 11 and 12. And what you're doing in that Year 8 space is critical. We've learned from the research that it's even earlier than that. So have you seen, what sort of success have you seen since you've started, putting these programs into place in Wagga Wagga?
So currently in the school that I'm teaching at, students, we have our first design and technology class. It hasn't run for the last 10 years. So to have that subject up and running in Years 9 and 10 is fantastic. I think just seeing the interest that they've shown about the Girls High Tea, like I was really sceptical, but going in, they were very excited, very thankful. They're happy to meet. We have 29 mentors now coming in, giving up their time, so giving up 3 hours of their time to come in and work with our students. So passionate females in STEM areas, which is fantastic.
And when you talk about these role models, these 29 role models coming in to talk to the students, that came out in the research as well, and it's pretty critical for young women to see, if I can see it, I can be it sort of mentality. What is it we can do to support our teachers to help them deliver engineering as that practical application of the science and maths that they're already delivering? What is it that can be done? I say we, I mean as a collective, education, government, industry, professional bodies.
I think it needs to be a holistic program. So at the moment we've received a lot of funding within our diocese to connect primary and high schools together to develop STEM partnerships. So I'll be working with 5 regional local primary schools where we'll be working with teachers and students and developing their STEM skills. Broadening their thinking, I think, is really important, but it needs to be a holistic approach from primary through to high school, but also maybe being part of the STEM Academy. So that was basically offering professional learning for students, for teachers to become sort of developers of STEM within their school. We already have a STEM curriculum, so ours was more about enhancing that curriculum. So being given the opportunity, I think having something like that would be fantastic, where we're mentored, teachers are mentored, professional learning is supported within the schools.
Yeah, you do make a good point, and we agree. And Engineers Australia, we talk about, we don't want to necessarily change the curriculum because that's not our position and that's not our sphere of influence. But what we encourage is, how do we use the current curriculum? How do we use what teachers are currently teaching, but enhance it in a way that's using current resources, current research, current technology, so that it makes it more engaging for our teachers, of course, but then in turn for our students. In your view or in your experience, what role do parents play in that subject selection and that encouragement and that engagement in these STEM subjects?
Yeah, I think parents play a really important role, but I think it's between parents, the school and the students, like working in partnership. So our school at the moment is really trying to develop those partnerships between the community and our students and our teachers. But yes, I think if their view on even maths, being a teacher and having various parent-teacher interviews, and seeing what parents kind of say about their perception of maths, like, oh, I wasn't very good at maths at school, bringing that to conversation. I always say, but we can all do maths at our level.
That's true. And, I've heard that so many times, about parents, from teachers that say that the parents will say, well, I wasn't good at maths or science and I can't help my son or daughter in that area, and almost get discouraged. One of the other things I would, again, just want to get your feedback on is the perception of engineering is that, and from the young women who study engineering, is that they have to excel in things like advanced maths and science. And the reality is, whilst they need to have an aptitude, they don't need to be the top, 2% of the state in maths and science to pursue engineering. How do we change that perception that you don't have to be the best in class in order, because there's a lot more to engineering. It's innovation, it's creative, it's problem solving, it's creative thinking, it's teamwork. All of those aspects are really important. So how do we change that perception that engineering requires you to be an absolute guru at science and maths?
Again, I think it comes down to having those mentors within schools, or having a partnership program where you've got engineers that are currently working, 2 or 3 years out, that can mentor our students and show them that, okay, it is possible, I can do it. It's not that difficult, or listening to what they've been through. I haven't, what their study pathways were, so that they're exposed to possibilities that they could choose, rather than thinking, oh, it's too hard, I can't do that, I can't possibly, my marks aren't high enough, I'm not going to get a good enough ATAR.
Oh, absolutely. Look, and I totally agree with you. There are so many, we don't often talk about them. We don't talk about them enough, the different pathways into engineering. Yes, there is, you get the required results, you go into a 4-year engineering degree, but there are so many other pathways into engineering. There's technologists, there's associates, there's bridging courses, there's loads of different ways in which we can get into engineering. What you're doing is amazing work, and I really congratulate you on the work you're doing in Wagga Wagga and for the kids that you're working with, and we can learn from what you're doing. But it's also really inspiring that this is an opportunity, a massive opportunity. Through this research, we've now got data. We've got people like yourself, Courtney, doing amazing work and seeing the results of that. And I think that that we can learn from that, be inspired by it, and we can change it. We can shift the dial. And that's what we're all here to do. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for everything you're doing at your school and with your students and the teachers and the parents. And let's work to change the dial and get more young women into engineering and indeed more broadly STEM. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.